Hello, welcome to another season for your NFL predictions, and today we're going to start off with week 1. I wish you happy betting as usual, and I'm going to share with you my predictions for all the games for this game week, all 16 games. And as usual, my advice to you is that whenever you're making your slips, try to put at least maybe 3 to 5 or 6 games per slip. I'd say preferably 3 to 5. That way, it works out better for you. The less games on your slip, the higher the probability of you winning that game. And so therefore, if you have a big bankroll, you don't need to make a long slip. Alright, you can bet on 3 possibilities or 4 possibilities per slip, and that would work out way better for you than to have a slip with all 16 games or all 14 games or all 15 games for any given game week. Alright, so we're going to jump straight into the predictions, and as you see, I'm using Betway here. And you can use any other site. As you see, I'm just using Betway to generate my slips. And so we're going to go straight to American football here. And with American football, we're going to NFL. And after them through, then we're just going to run through some other stuff. But our first game for game week 1 is Buffalo Bills at Los Angeles Rams. We're going to click on that, and we're going to head straight in. I'm going to give you my predictions. First up, I'm going to give you, as you see, we have some loves of stats here. We have the head-to-head, we have the stand-ins, we have the probabilities. So we have the stand-ins. We're not going to have much here because the season has not yet started. Probabilities, yes, this is showing the win, possibility of who to win, and the spreads and all of that, over and under. Yes, all of that jazz. Lineups, that is showing you the rosters that they currently have in place. And so you can use all of that information to your advantage whenever you're making your bet. Alright, so I'm just going to head straight into it, and I'm going to give you my winner for this game. For this game, I am expecting the Los Angeles Rams to pull out a victory here. The Bills are very good, but they're traveling, and early season I don't think they would have warmed up as yet, and I think the Bills are going to squeeze them through here. And so therefore I'm betting on the Bills to, not the Bills, the Rams rather. I'm betting on the Rams to win, as you see my cursor highlights here. I'm betting on the Rams to win this game. And in terms of the score, the total points, I am saying this game is going to be under 52.5 points. And in terms of the winning margin, I'd say I'd have the Rams. I'd have the Rams to win by 2.5. I'd have the Rams to win by 2.5. Well, I'll take the Rams to win by 1.5. Yeah, that's a better bet. And so therefore my predictions for the Buffalo Bills versus Rams game. Buffalo Bills visiting the Rams for week 1 of the NFL. I have the Rams to win. And on the spread, I have the Rams to win by 1.5 points. And in terms of total points for the game, 52.5, I am saying that we're going to have less than that in this game. So we're going to move right along to our next game, which is New Orleans versus the Falcons. New Orleans visiting the Falcons for week 1. New Orleans visiting the Falcons for week 1. And also just a quick note, whenever you're placing your bets, it's also advisable to always check on the injury updates. That's very important as well. Some of the times it has some bearing on the games, not all the time, but it does from time to time. And so head straight back into it. My predictions for the Saints versus the Falcons. Falcons being at home, I'm expecting the Falcons here. The Falcons should give the Saints a warm time, and I'm going to give the Falcons the win here. I'm going to give the Falcons the win. In terms of total points for this game, I am saying that we're going to have under the 42.5. That's my belief. We're going to have under that. So those are my 2 predictions. As you see, there are many other things that you can predict here, but I'm going to go through some of those after we're through. Sorry about that just now. So for the Falcons versus Saints game, I have the Falcons winning. Falcons at home, and I say we're going to have under 42.5 points for this game. Alright, in terms of the spread, I would go ahead and I would say the Falcons are not going to, it's going to be a close one, and I'd say it would be New Orleans. The Falcons are not going to win by 4.5 points. Falcons are not going to, the spread here, I would go ahead and I'd say Falcons by 4.5. Yeah. Alright, so moving along to our next game, which is which is click this here. Next game is the Browns versus the Panthers. Browns versus the Panthers. The Browns visiting the Panthers. Baker Mayfield is now at the Panthers, and he has a point to prove. I think that he might end up start week 1, might. And so if he does, then that should be a very interesting game. The Panthers being at home playing against the Browns. I'm going to pick the Panthers to win this one. I say the Panthers to win. In terms of total points, I would say that we're going to have over 41. What is this? 40.5 points. Let's see what we're going to have over 40.5 points. In terms of the spread, I would go ahead and say that the Panthers should come out here. I'm going to take the Panthers minus 2.5. So that means that it should by 3 or more points. And so therefore, I'm going to take the Panthers to win here. So recapping my predictions for the Browns versus Panthers game. Panthers to win. In terms of the spread, 2.5. I'm going for the Panthers minus 2.5. And in terms of total points, I'm saying that we're going to have, we should have over 40.5 points here for this game. And so those are my predictions for that particular game. You see my predictions are here in the corner here, so as you can see. And so we're just going to jump straight into the next game, which is the San Francisco's 49ers versus the Chicago Bears. And so we're just going to do straight ahead the predictions for this game. And the 49ers visiting the Bears. I have here, I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this one, because they'll have a fair enough preseason. I'm going with the 49ers to win this one, though. 49ers to win. And I am seeing that we're going to have under 41.5 points for this game. In terms of the spread, I would go with Bears plus 7.5, right? I go with the Bears for that. Yeah, I go with Bears for that. So my predictions for the 49ers versus Bear games, 49ers visiting the Bears. I have the 49ers winning. In terms of a spread, I am going for the 7.5, Chicago Bears plus 7.5. In terms of points, I'm saying that we're going to have under 41.5 points in this game. And so we're going to tag right along to our next game, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers visiting the Bengals. Bengals had a really great season last year. I think that they should continue on that part. And so it's not going to be easy for the Steelers to go in their house and topple them over. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, though. But I'll have the Bengals to win. And in terms of total points, I'm saying that we're going to have under 44.5. Alright, those are my predictions. But in terms of the spread, I would say that we're going to have the Steelers at... No, not Steelers, the Bengals at minus 5.5. Alright, that means that it should win by 6 or more points. That's a touchdown. Minus the field goal. Alright, so my predictions again for the Steelers versus Bengals games, I'm expecting the Bengals to win. In terms of a spread, minus 5.5, I have Bengals to take that. And in terms of total points, I am saying that we're going to have less than 45 points in this game. Alright, so going to our next game, which is Philadelphia Eagles versus the Detroit Lions. The Eagles visiting the Lions. Eagles are expected to do well in the division this season, and so therefore, but for the starters, they've not yet warmed up. The Lions, I have faith in them somewhat, and since it's this early in the season, I think they could surprise the Eagles, and so I'm going to pick them here to surprise the Eagles in week 1. So I'm saying the Lions to win this game, and I am saying that we're going to have over. That we're going to have over 48.5 points. And in terms of a spread, I would go for I'm going to say that we're going to have Lions winning this game by 4 points. Alright, I think that is going to be closer than that. But yeah. So my predictions for the Eagles versus Lions game. Lions being at home, I'm expecting the Lions to win here, surprise the Eagles. In terms of a spread, 3.5, and I go with the Lions plus 3.5. And in terms of total points in this game, I think that we're going to have over 48.5 points. for this game. Alright, and both teams should end in the 20s, either mid 20s, maybe about 24, 26, somewhere thereabout. And if that happens, then that will get over the 48.5 points for this game. Alright. So jumping along again for next game, which is the Colts versus the Texans. Colts visiting the Texans. I expect the Texans to defend home turf here. The Colts are a good team, but I'd say hot and cold is somewhat for the most part. As you see, that this is the farm chart, so it's going to show that all teams played 3 games in preseason. So these are the last 3 games here that they would have played. Yes. So as you see, the house means that it's home, and the @ sign means that they went to someone else's home and play. So you can use that the farm guide, but I wouldn't write much into the farm guide because, as you know, they have the new rosters that they're trying out and all of that jazz. So you can't pay much attention to that. I mean, but based on what they would have done, and that's what. And so therefore, we're going to jump straight into this. As well, unfortunately, some of these things they have been suspended, but let's just go into this. For this game, I'm expecting the Texans to win. In terms of points, I have this game being on the. Let's see here if we have points and anywhere else. Game props. Nope. Just game props. Let's go ahead. I mean. But for this game, I'm expecting Texans to win, just to be honest, because I've done my research. Otherwise, I just don't come here and my predictions. Texans win, I'm expecting under 45.5 points for this game. Here we go. Under 45.5 games. Sorry about that. So again, my predictions for the Colts versus Texans game. Expecting the Texans to win. And I'm expecting under 45.5 points. Alright. So jumping right along to our next game, which is Patriots versus Dolphins. Patriots visiting Dolphins week 1. The Dolphins have a good team, playing well together. They are doing well, but with the New England Patriots, they always know how to win a game, and they're not going to go down without a fight. So it's not going to be an easy one for the Dolphins, but I do expect them to squeeze the Patriots here at home. Being at home for week 1, I do expect them to squeeze the Patriots. Boys coming out of the cold, New England Patriots. Heading into the warmth of the Miami Dolphins. I expect the Dolphins to beat them here. And in terms of total points for this game, I'm saying that we're going to have over. I'm going to have my based on my research. I've suspended all the points, but I do expect this game to end over 44.5 points. So whenever this comes back up, I would say that we're going to have over 44.5 points. Alright, we should have over 44.5, and I'm not certain why they have suspended some of these odds. Chances are maybe at the time doing a recording, they're updating their odds, so hence the reason why they have suspended some of these odds. But I expect the Dolphins to win, and I'm expecting this game to be over 44.5 points. Alright, sorry for the missing points there. Just apologies. In terms of our next game now, which is the Ravens versus New York Jets. Ravens looking to finally shake that monster that goes off their back and win something. Alright, off know that they haven't won since Ray Lewis. So they'll be coming out this season expecting to do well. So the Ravens visiting the Jets. I'm expecting the Ravens to win here. And I am expecting that we have over, let me see, 44.5 points. We'll have over 44.5 points, and that means that we need 45 or more points to win in this game. In terms of the spread, I would go with the Baltimore Ravens minus 5.5. Alright. So again, my predictions for the Ravens versus New York Jets game, I'm expecting the Ravens to win. Expecting that we'll have over 44.5 points in this game. In terms of the spread, I would go for the Baltimore Ravens minus 5.5. Alright, so our next game is Jaguars versus the newly named Washington Commanders. Alright then, so the Jaguars visiting the Commanders. I'm expecting the Commanders to win here. and I'm expecting that we're going to have under 44.5 points. In terms of the spread, I would go ahead and say I'll take the Commanders at minus 2.5. So my predictions for the Jaguars versus Commanders game: Jaguars visiting the Washington Commanders. I'm expecting the Commanders to win. Expecting that we're going to have under 44.5 points here. And in terms of spread, I would go with the Washington Commanders at minus 2.5. Alright, so those were the predictions for that game. Now we're going to jump right along to our next game on Sunday. As you see, we have a very long list here on Sunday as usual. Sunday has the longest games. You only have one on Thursday, and you have a plethora on Sunday, and you have one Monday night game. So we have 3 game days in any given NFL week. Alright then, so as we're moving on to our next game, which is the Chiefs versus the Cardinals, and this is a big matchup for week 1. I think this is the biggest matchup for week 1, to be honest with you. 2 of the heavy hitters from last season coming together, and I'm expecting that it's going to be a big clash. And so therefore, but for this big clash, both teams are, I would say, not yet warmed up. I think the Chiefs are going to go into the Cardinals' house and they're going to cause some trouble. They are going to beat them, I believe. Not counting out Murray. Murray is a good quarterback, very good quarterback for his size. Yes, and but I do expect that Mahomes and his friends should go in there and they should take this win. Alright, so I have the Chiefs to win. In terms of total points in this game, I'm saying that we're going to have under 53.5 points. We're going to have under 53.5 points. In terms of a spread, I would go for the Chiefs minus 3.5. So again, recapping my predictions for the Chiefs versus Arizona Cardinal game. The Chiefs is in Arizona Cardinal, remember. Expecting the Chiefs to win. In terms of total points, I'm saying that we're going to have under 53.5. And in terms of a spread, I would go with the Kansas City Chiefs. At minus 3.5. Alright. So our next game for Sunday, next Sunday. Well, today's Sunday, so this is actually next Sunday. Our next game is the Raiders visiting the Chargers. Alright. Raiders visiting the Chargers. Alright, so based on the last 2 seasons, I think, or maybe more. The Raiders, they haven't traveled very well. But then usually they do better at home, and so hence the reason why for this game I am going to go with the Chargers to win this one. I have the Chargers to win, and in terms of points, I think that we're going to have under 52.5 points here in this game. In terms of a spread, I would go with the Chargers to go with this one at minus 3.5. Yeah. So recapping the predictions for the Chargers versus the Raiders versus the Chargers. Raiders visiting the Chargers. I'm expecting the Chargers to win. I'm saying that we're going to have under 52.5 points. And in terms of a spread, I would go with the Chargers for minus 3.5. Alright? So those are my predictions for that particular game. So heading into our next game, straight into our next game, which is the Green Bay Packers versus the Vikings. Green Bay Packers in rebuilding mode. I think Aaron Rodgers might end up clearing out most of his hair this year. I don't think that they're going to do very much. I think that they're going to struggle to make the playoffs, to be honest with you. I think they're going to struggle. It would be great if they prove me wrong, but I think that they're going to do struggle to make the playoffs. Alright? And so therefore my predictions for this game, Packers visiting the Vikings. Defensively, I'm expecting the Vikings to do well in this game, so I'm not expecting a very high scoring one. And hence the reason why I think that it's going to be a struggle for the Packers to beat the Vikings, and so hence the reason why I'm selecting the Vikings to win this one. Vikings to win, and I'd say the Vikings to win this one. And I'm going to go for them plus 1.5 on the spread. I'll take that. So that means the Vikings should win by 2 more points. In terms of total points in this game, I would say that we're going to have under 48.5 points. Alright? So my predictions for this game are the Vikings to win, the Vikings to based on the spread, Vikings plus 1.5. And based on the total points for this game, I'm expecting that we're going to have under 48.5 points. Alright, I think that one of these teams should end up in the teens and one might end up in the 20s. Remember, both teams might end up in the teens in terms of points. So that's my prediction. That's what I'm seeing based on the stats that I've looked at in preseason and a little bit of the history. The last couple of games that I played at the end of last season. Alright then, so jumping right along into our next game, which is the Giants versus the Titans. Giants coming on very well. I'm expecting them to do very well at home this season. Expecting them to do very well at home this season, and but they will be visiting the Titans for their first game. And the Titans, Tennessee Titans, they're not usually easy to beat at home, and they have a very strong offensive unit. Defensively, they're a little bit. I don't want to use the term questionable or shaky, but defensively they're good enough. Handle themselves well enough. But based on history and based on how things have progressed over the past couple of years, I don't expect the Giants to come in there and beat the Titans. I'm going with the Titans to win this game, week 1, at home against the Giants. I'm expecting the Titans to win. In terms of total points, I would go ahead and say that we're going to have under 43.5 points. If the Titans have a really great day, then we could end up surpassing that, because they might end up in the high 20s, while the Giants might end up getting maybe 14 or 12 points, or maybe 13 points. Yeah, but in terms of a spread, I would go ahead for the Titans at minus 4.5. For my predictions again for the Giants versus Titans game, I'm expecting the Titans to win. In terms of total points, I'd say that we're going to have less than 43.5 points. In terms of a spread, I'll go with the Titans for minus 4.5. Alright? And so, again, we'll jump straight to our next game. Alright, so our next game is the Bucs versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Bucs visiting the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys usually does well at home. They usually do well at home, and they usually don't concede a lot in terms of goals at home. And so I'm expecting that to continue somewhat, and so they'll give up their best against the Buccaneers, and I think that it's going to be a very interesting game for the most part. It's going to be close for the most part, I believe, but I'm expecting the Cowboys to come out on top at the end of the day. In terms of the total points for this game, I'm saying that we're going to have under 50.5 points. I'm going to have under 50.5 points. In terms of a spread, I would go with the Dallas Cowboys at plus 1.5. Alright. My predictions for the Buccaneers versus Dallas games. The Buccaneers visiting Cowboys. I'm expecting the Cowboys to win. I'm expecting that we're going to have under 50.5 points, and I would say that I'll go for, in terms of a spread, I'll go for the Cowboys plus 1.5. Alright, those are my predictions for that game. Now we're heading into the final game for week 1 of the NFL, the new season, 122nd year of the National Football League. And our first Monday night game is the Broncos versus the Seahawks. Now this is a what do we call it? A revenge match, a payback match, because Russell Wilson is now at the Broncos. The Seahawks, his team, he has been there for maybe about 7 more seasons, I think. And so it was a surprise to me when they traded him. It was a big surprise to me. I didn't expect that, but you know how this thing goes. It's all about the finances, and it's all about who is in charge. But anyways, the Broncos will be visiting the Seahawks, and this should be a very, very, very interesting Monday night matchup. It should be a very nice Monday night game. So gather your family, gather everyone. Whether you want to have a watch party via Zoom or something like that. But, and for this game, I am expecting that the Seahawks should defend home territory. I believe it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them to do it. But I'm expecting them to to win, to squeeze through. I'm expecting them to squeeze through in this one, to be honest with you. I'm expecting them to squeeze through. I'm really expecting them to squeeze through here. In terms of total points, I would say that we're going to have over, let me see here, they are not where they're heading my point. Points. Alright, I'm not showing my point. The point section has been suspended, but for me, I'm expecting that we'll have over 42.5 points. Alright, so if this is not what it's just this, so over 42.5 points. I'm expecting over 42.5 points for this game. In terms of a spread, I would go with the Broncos at minus 6.5. Alright, which means that the Broncos will have to win by 7 or more points. Alright, and since I have them losing, I don't think that they're going to win by that. So alright then, so that means I should it's like this one. To have the Seahawks by plus 6.5 rather. Alright then. No, I should select this one. Sorry about that. Just apologies. It's gonna be a close one. It's gonna be. I think they're going to win by maybe 3 or 4 at the end of the day, to be honest with you. So hence the reason why I have the Seahawks going by, in terms of the spread, winning by plus 5.5 rather than plus 6.5. Alright. So therefore, my predictions for this game, the final game of NFL Week 1. The Broncos visiting the Seahawks. Russell Wilson versus his old team. I'm expecting the Seahawks to squeeze the Broncos here. And in terms of total points, as you can see, it's suspended on this thing, but I'm expecting over 42.5 points for this game. Now it's now live again. As I see, they might have been updating the system. I'm expecting over 42.5 points for this game. They're showing me an error, yes. I don't pay much attention to that. The system is updating the stats based on the latest injury reports and the latest and all that jazz. But recapping my predictions again for the Broncos versus Seahawks game, I'm expecting Seahawks to win, being at home. It's going to be a close game though. In the spread, I'd have Seahawks to win by the plus 5.5. And in terms of total points, I'm expecting that this game will be over 42.5 points. Alright, it's going to be a close one, and it's one that you should watch. Alright, so again, as I said, whenever you're making a betting slips, try to put anywhere from 3 to 5 games per slip. The bigger your bankroll, the less games you can put on your slip. You have multiple slips, and you can bet on multiple things. So the less put possibilities on your slips, the better for you, easier for you to win. Alright. In terms of, let me just show you some other things just before we go. In terms of game props, you can go in and you can bet on many other things for each game. The game props here, and then the first team to score. Let's say if you want to do some spot betting, alright, high score in half, you can come here and get that instead of trying to bet the outrights here. You can always come here and do that. High score in quarter, you can come here and get that. You have some really nice odds here. You can, in terms of total touchdowns in the game, you can come here and get game drops and get those as well. If you want to go quarter specific, you can go to quarter specific, which team is going to win the quarter, the amount of points that you expect in the quarter. You can go ahead and bet on that. Alright, those all of those things, first half, second half. Alright, you can come ahead some other times in terms of the winners. For example, let's say I'm selecting Denver Broncos to win this game. In terms of them to win the second half, I think I'm getting a better odds for them to win the second half than for them to win the game outright. As you can see, if I outright win here, I'm getting $1.38. If I go ahead and say, then Broncos to win the second half, I'm getting a way better odd here. Alright, so some of the times that's how you can do it. Get better odds, alright? Especially if you're confident that your team is going to win this game, alright? So again, these are my predictions for the NFL Week 1. Alright, NFL Week 1 games starting September 8th, Thursday night game. We're starting with Buffalo Bills versus the Rams, and then we head to Sunday and we'll start with the Saints versus the Falcons, and next we have the Browns versus the Panthers, and then we have the 49ers versus the Bears, and we have Steelers versus Bengals, and then we have Eagles versus Lions, and then we have Colts versus Texans, and Patriots versus Dolphins, and Ravens versus Jets, and then the Jaguars versus the Commanders, and then the Chiefs versus Cardinals, and then the Raiders versus the Chargers, and then we have the Packers versus the Vikings, and closing out the schedule on Sunday, we have the Giants and the Titans. And the final game for Sunday, I should say, sorry about that, the penultimate. The final game for Sunday is the Buccaneers versus the Cowboys. And for a big clash and Monday Night Football, we have the Broncos versus the Seahawks. Russell Wilson versus his old team. So again, I wish the best of luck. And thank you for joining me. Continue to watch these videos and share these videos with your friends. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.